They call you the N-word in the kitchen. They just poison your meal. Those 12 words, scribbled in a frantic hand on a cheap napkin, hit my table harder than a punch. They sliced through the pretense of the room, the white linen, the clink of crystal, the whole expensive illusion, and for a second, I couldn't breathe. I've weathered corporate wars, hostile takeovers, boardroom betrayals that would chill your blood. But that napkin in that moment was a different kind of bullet. And the target was me, Julian Vance, the man who's supposed to be untouchable. Let me back up a sec, because I didn't show up at the veranda looking to play the part of the hero. Hell, I didn't even look like myself that night. Hoodie, busted up boots, the same jeans I wore back when I was scraping by, just to see if the rumors I'd been hearing about my own restaurant were true. Folks in my world like to pretend money erases everything. You buy your way out of pain, out of prejudice, out of history. Yeah, that's a nice dream. But in the real world, scars just get covered with silk. I'd gotten an anonymous email 3 weeks before. The kind you'd think was a prank if you hadn't grown up with dirt under your nails and a grandfather who taught you exactly what certain words meant when whispered in the wrong room. The allegations were ugly racist management, employees humiliated, guests treated like trash if they weren't the right color. The veranda, supposedly my crown jewel in Savannah, had become something rotten. No suits with clipboards. No PR fixers. Just me and the raw truth. You want to see the bones of a system? Make yourself invisible to it. From the second I stepped inside, I could feel the old, heavy kind of hate that doesn't need words. The hostess clocked my clothes and gave me that look, if you know. She dumped me at a table by the kitchen doors, where you hear the staff cussing and the air smells like fryer grease. 17 minutes sitting there while the sommelier worked the room like he was auditioning for a soap opera, and not once did his eyes even flicker my way. It would have been almost funny if it wasn't so familiar. Then there was Sarah, the only soul in that place with a name tag that meant something. She didn't say a word at first, just a look, part fear, part challenge, like she'd seen too much for her age. She was maybe 23, bones tired from 1,000 shifts, her shoes almost worn through. She should have been chasing her dreams, but instead, she was stuck here, dragging plates and swallowing every slight they could throw at her. But she didn't break. You could see his steel wrapped in that tired, polite smile. I ordered the most expensive thing on the menu. The Savannah Kings cut 50 ounces of cow, a meal made for social media and men with something to prove. When Sarah heard it, her eyes went wide, and I saw the flash of panic. Not because of me, but because in places like this, the moment a black man with no visible wealth orders big, management starts smelling scam. The rules were clear: get a card, or eat the loss if he dines and dashes. But Sarah made a call. She ran the order herself, staking her own job on a hunch. That's guts. What happened next? I watched like it was slow motion, like I'd seen this ugly movie before, but couldn't skip ahead. The kitchen was all laughter, and inside, jokes except the punchline was always the same. The chef, Du Bois, grabbed my steak, made a show, and spat on it. "Welcome to the neighborhood special," he said, and his crew snickered like hyenas. Sarah saw it all, hands shaking, but she didn't drop the mask. She just went to her station and started writing on a napkin fast, desperate, like she was lighting a flare in a storm. She slipped the napkin under my plate when she brought out the food, didn't even meet my eyes, just kept moving. I didn't need to read it to know her fear was that loud. But when I did, those words weren't just a warning, they were the whole system bleeding through the linen. Ask for the kitchen security tapes. They erased them every night. That was the line that got me, more than the slur, more than the spit. This wasn't a one-off, this was a routine. I never touched the food. I pulled out my burner phone and texted David, my head of security, the only guy who'd ever broken my nose and still had a job. Code black. Pull every cloud backup. All kitchen cams, 90 days. Cross-check for complaints. Silent protocol. Wait for my call. Then I got up. Harrington, the manager, saw the untouched steak and came running like a vulture. "Is there a problem, sir?" he asked. I said I wanted to speak in his office, and the moment the door shut, the game changed. I told him to pull the kitchen cameras right then and there. He bluffed, stammered about technical issues. I cut him off, told him exactly who I was, who signed his paychecks, who could end his career with a snap of my fingers. The panic in his eyes was almost sad. He tried to pull up the footage right when the steak was made. 2 minutes gone, wiped from the tape. He tried to play dumb. I told him he was done, walked out, fired him on the spot, and told him to get a good lawyer. Yeah, that happened. By the time I got to my hotel, my team had the real tapes. Turns out, the veranda's local system was glitchy, but cloud backups don't lie. David had everything. We watched together high def, with audio. Du Bois spitting on my steak. His goons laughing. Worse, a pattern. A black family's burger thrown on the floor, an old couple's food microwaved and salted until it was inedible. It wasn't a kitchen. It was a crime scene, one the whole town had pretended not to notice. Next morning, Sarah showed up for her shift like a soldier returning to the front. She probably thought she was about to be fired for telling the truth. Instead, she walked into a storm she helped create. Harrington was gone. Du Bois, too. I was waiting in the office, not as the ghost in the hoodie, but as the owner. I gave Sarah a choice: take a severance and walk, or stay and help me rebuild. Not just the restaurant, but the culture itself. Director of Culture and Community Engagement, seat at the board, power to make real change. She could hardly believe it, but I told her, I already trusted you with my life. This is the easy part. The next 24 hours? Absolute chaos. Legal teams, PR, the works. But I didn't want spin, I wanted truth. At lunch hour, right as Savannah's old money lined up for their reservations, federal agents came through the door, cool as can be, warrants in hand. Du Bois arrested in the kitchen, Harrington dragged off his lawn. The staff watched, stunned. Some hid, some smiled. Sarah stood in the middle of it, living proof that the powerless don't have to stay powerless forever. Outside, I stood in front of the press, said what needed to be said. No excuses. No hiding. The veranda, as you knew, it is closed, effective immediately. We will rebuild, and when we reopen, it will be a place where everyone is served with dignity. I called Sarah up, told the world the truth only came out because she found the courage to risk everything. The applause was real. For the first time, so was the hope. For 2 weeks, the veranda was dark to the public. But inside, it was rebirth, old portraits of slaveholders stripped off the walls, the kitchen gutted, new faces being hired. Sarah called the first staff meeting herself, not from a podium, but in a circle telling her story. She set up a real reporting system, brought in bias training, hired a new Chifa black woman from New Orleans with hands that could make food taste like a memory. She promoted the busboy who'd worked the hardest, built a team that looked like Savannah, not like a country club. Sarah went back to college, 2 Spelman, online at night, on a scholarship we created. She started getting calls from other workers, people with their own napkin stories. She became a voice. She walked different head up, not because of a title, but because she'd faced down a machine and come out the other side. In the end, it wasn't my money, my lawyers, or even the FBI that broke the veranda's curse. It was a single act of courage, 12 words on a napkin, passed quietly between 2 people who refused to let hate win. That's what changed everything. Not a grand gesture, but a decision to tell the truth when it cost the most. So now I've got to ask, what have you seen? And let's slide. What silent poison did you watch get served and do nothing? And what might change if you decided to finally write your own napkin? If this story hit you anywhere near the gut, do something about it, like share this with someone who needs to remember that the smallest voice can spark the biggest fire. And if you want more of the real stories, not just the comfortable ones, stick around, because history's revolutions start with a whisper, not a bang. Sometimes, all it takes is the right truth at the right time, handed to the right person. What would you have done if you were in Sarah's shoes? Or mine? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about justice, about what's right and what it takes to finally burn down the old walls and build something worth believing in.